The Great Pyramid of Giza. I mean, just saying the name brings up these incredible images, doesn't it? This ancient wonder standing out there in the desert for, what, over 4,500 years?
Absolutely. It's this powerful symbol, of mystery, human ingenuity. Just colossal.
Exactly. And it's a structure we really thought we knew. I mean, centuries of study, mapping every tunnel, every chamber, or so we thought.
We really did. For millennia, it seemed like it had given up all its secrets.
To then, bam, 2017 happens, and suddenly everything we thought we knew gets, well, kind of shattered.
That was the big moment.
They find this silent, perfectly hidden void deep inside. Deep in its heart.
Yeah, completely sealed off. No doors, no passages we know of, nothing.
Which just immediately throws up these huge questions, the ones we want to dig into today. Like, why build it in the first place? Why keep it so hidden? I mean, the Egyptians documented everything, right?
Pretty much, yeah. That's one of the biggest puzzles here.
And, the ultimate question, what secrets could possibly be inside?
It's an archaeological bombshell, really. Captured everyone's imagination.
Totally. So we're diving deep into this enigma today. Okay, let's unpack this.
Let's do it.
So picture this. Thousands of years, the pyramid stands, everyone studies it, thinks they've got a handle on its insides, its purpose.
The standard model, so to speak. The King's Chamber, Queen's Chamber, the Grand Gallery.
Exactly. Then, just a few years back, 2017, this game-changing discovery happens. And like you said, it wasn't about digging, no picks and shovels.
No, definitely not. This was high-tech, an international team, the Scan Pyramids project.
Right, Scan Pyramids, and they used particle physics.
Yeah.
Muon tomography. Sounds like something out of science fiction.
It does a bit, but it's very real science. And actually, it's kind of amazing how it works. It lets you essentially see inside solid objects without touching them.
Okay, so break that down for us. Muon tomography. What are muons?
Okay, so muons are tiny subatomic particles. Think of them like really heavy electrons, but they're naturally occurring.
Naturally occurring. Where do they come from?
They're actually created way up in our atmosphere.
Yeah.
Cosmic rays coming from deep space hit air molecules. And this collision creates a shower of other particles, including these muons. And they just rain down on Earth constantly, billions of them passing through us every minute.
Wow. Okay, so they're everywhere. How does that help you see inside a pyramid?
Well, the key thing is they can penetrate dense materials, like really dense, stone, rock, concrete. They go right through.
Okay.
But, and this is the clever part, how easily they pass through depends on the density of the material. If they hit something really solid, like thick stone, more of them get absorbed or deflected.
Right.
But if they encounter, say, an empty space, a void, or just like less dense material, more of them will pass straight through.
I think I see where this is going.
Exactly. So the Scan Pyramids team, it was a joint effort, Egyptian, French, Japanese researchers. They placed these special detectors around, and even inside the pyramid, in known chambers.
What kind of detectors?
They used a couple of types. Some were like special photographic film nuclear emulsions that physically record the tracks muons leave. Others were electronic detectors, scintillator hodoscopes, giving real-time data.
Okay.
And they just let these detectors sit there for, well, sometimes months, collecting data on billions and billions of muons, tracking their paths, where they came from, how many got through specific areas.
It's like counting particles passing through different spots.
Pretty much, yeah. You build up this incredibly detailed picture. By analyzing all that data, you can create a 3D map showing differences in density inside the pyramid.
So it's kind of like a giant X-ray, but using natural cosmic particles instead of radiation.
That's a great analogy, like an X-ray for a mountain. Or in this case, a pyramid. And the huge advantage, the critical thing, is it's completely non-invasive.
Right. You don't have to drill or damage the structure at all.
Precisely. Which is absolutely essential when you're dealing with something as precious and, frankly, fragile in its own way as the Great Pyramid.
Yeah.
It allows us to probe without destroying. It's a game changer for archaeology.
Okay, so they run these scans, collect all this data. What did they find? What did this muon map actually show them?
Oh, it showed something startling, not just a small anomaly, but this huge, low-density region, a massive void.
How massive are we talking?
We're talking about something roughly 100 feet long, at least, maybe more.
100 feet, just hanging there inside the pyramid.
Basically, yes. And to give you some perspective, that's actually larger than the Grand Gallery.
Wow. The Grand Gallery itself is incredible, that huge sloping passage.
Exactly. And this void is sitting almost directly above it, kind of parallel to it, deep inside the structure.
Deep inside. So not near the surface.
No, definitely not. Right in the core mass of the pyramid. They initially called it the Scan Pyramid's Big Void, or an SBBV, which, sounds a bit technical.
Understatement of the century, maybe?
Huh? Possibly. But yeah, a major, major discovery.
But here's the kicker, right? The really weird part. It was sealed.
Completely sealed. As far as the scans could tell, no connecting tunnels, no entrances leading to it from any known passages, and totally unknown to modern archaeology before this.
And nothing inside. Or rather, nothing on the walls. No clues.
That's the other baffling thing. The scans indicate a void, an empty space. But more than that, from everything we know about Egyptian practices, you'd expect something. An inscription, a relief, hieroglyphs.
Right, they labeled everything.
They did, meticulously. But here, just silence. Nothing to indicate its purpose, who built it, why it's there. It's as if it was deliberately erased from the record, or never meant to be recorded in the first place.
Which seems so counter to everything we know about them.
It really does. This deliberate concealment, this lack of documentation in the most iconic structure they built, it raises profound questions, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the ancient Egyptians, they were obsessive record keepers, weren't they?
Oh, incredibly so. We have mountains of papyri, temple inscriptions, tomb biographies. They detailed everything. Religious rituals, building projects, king lists, even daily life stuff like grain accounts.
Their whole culture seems geared towards ensuring things lasted, were remembered.
Exactly. For eternity, for the gods, for posterity. So to find a chamber of this sheer size, in the Great Pyramid no less, and have it be completely undocumented, deliberately hidden, it's just perplexing.
It feels like a deliberate omission, not just an oversight.
That's the strong implication. It's a glaring blank space in a culture that seemed to abhor blank spaces. It makes you ask, was this thing meant to be found? Maybe only when technology like muon scanning existed.
Or was it meant to stay hidden forever, a secret the builders took to their graves?
Precisely. That deliberate concealment is, for me, maybe the most fascinating part. It forces us to reconsider everything we assumed about the pyramid's design, its purpose, the mindset of its builders.
It suggests a level of secrecy, maybe even complexity we hadn't really factored in before.
Definitely. It tells us there's likely more to the story, perhaps much more, than what's visible or written down.
Okay, so we've got this massive, hidden, silent void, discovered with incredible tech. It's completely baffling. And naturally, the moment this news hit, boom, speculation went wild.
Oh, absolutely. Every archaeologist, historian, engineer, and let's be honest, fringe theorist had an idea.
And that's where a deep dive really gets juicy, right? Exploring the theories. Here's where it gets really interesting.
Because the ideas range from, solid archaeological possibilities to, well, some pretty out there concepts.
Let's start with the more grounded ones. What's the leading theory from, say, traditional Egyptology?
Okay, probably the most prominent theory, rooted in what we know about pharaohs and tombs, is that this could be it. This could be the real, untouched burial chamber of Pharaoh Khufu.
Khufu's actual tomb, after all this time?
It's a compelling idea. Think about it. The chambers we do know, the king's chamber, the queen's chamber, the one underground, none of them definitively held Khufu's mummy or his burial goods.
Right. The king's chamber sarcophagus was empty, wasn't it? And damaged.
Exactly. Lid missing, broken. Suggests it was looted, probably in antiquity. The queen's chamber looks unfinished, maybe never used for a burial. The subterranean one, too.
So the idea is those were decoys.
Potentially. The hypothesis goes that the builders, knowing how rampant tomb robbing was,
a huge problem back then.
A massive problem. So maybe they built these elaborate visible chambers as misdirection and then sealed the actual tomb away in this hidden void, hoping it would remain safe forever.
Wow. If that's true. I mean, imagine finding an untouched pharaoh's tomb from that era.
It would be unbelievable. An archaeological find beyond measure. A sealed time capsule from 4,500 years ago.
Yeah.
Intact money, treasures, artifacts, everything giving us a perfect snapshot.
It would rewrite history books. We have never found an intact Old Kingdom pharaoh's burial inside a pyramid.
Never. It would be utterly unprecedented. The holy grail of Egyptology, essentially.
Okay, that's a huge possibility. But as you pointed out, it kind of flies in the face of what we thought we knew, right? If this is the real chamber, then why build those incredibly elaborate fake ones?
That's the big counter-argument, or at least the big question it raises.
The king's chamber, the grand gallery. These aren't just rough-hewn caves. They're masterpieces of engineering themselves. Huge effort, incredible precision.
Absolutely enormous resources went into building them, so why do that if they were just decoys?
It forces a total rethink, doesn't it? About Egyptian funerary ideas, pyramid design. Maybe decoy isn't the right word. Maybe they served other functions.
It certainly suggests a level of architectural complexity, planning, and perhaps even paranoia about security that goes way beyond our previous models. Multiple chambers, maybe for different ritual purposes, or a nested security system.
It turns the pyramid from just a tomb into this incredibly complex, layered puzzle box.
Precisely. It adds yet another layer of profound mystery.
Okay, so that's theory one, the real tomb. What's another major contender? You mentioned engineering.
Right. Another really fascinating hypothesis, moving away from burial chambers, focuses on structural engineering. The idea is that the void isn't meant to hold anything, but rather it is a piece of ancient technology.
Technology, like what?
Specifically, an anti-seismic feature, a way to protect the pyramid from earthquakes.
Earthquakes. I didn't think Giza was a major earthquake zone.
Not like, say, California or Japan. But minor tremors do happen and have happened over the millennia. And even small tremors could potentially stress such a massive ancient structure. The builders might have understood this, even empirically.
So how would a void help with that?
Well, think about modern engineering. Sometimes large buildings incorporate gaps or specific masses to absorb or dampen vibrations. The void could function in a similar way.
How so?
It could act as a stress relief mechanism. By creating a large empty space above the grand gallery, which is a critical structural element, it might redistribute the immense weight of the stones above it, preventing pressure buildup.
Like an expansion joint.
Sort of, or maybe more like a shock absorber. It could allow the structure to flex slightly during a tremor, rather than resisting rigidly, which can lead to catastrophic failure. Some have even compared it to a tuned mass damper concept, though that's speculative.
Oh, what now?
Basically, a heavy mass designed to move out of sync with the main structure to cancel out vibrations. The point is, the void could be a deliberate engineering choice to enhance the pyramid's long-term stability.
If that's true, that's incredible.
Right.
That implies the builders had this really advanced understanding of structural dynamics.
Way beyond what we typically credit them with, yes. It would mean they weren't just master stone movers, but sophisticated structural engineers anticipating geological forces.
That would be a radical reassessment of ancient capability.
Absolutely. It would shift our whole perspective on their scientific knowledge. An understanding of load-bearing, stress distribution, vibration mechanics, maybe learned through centuries of building experience.
Wow. That's the aha moment, isn't it? Could they really have figured that out 4,500 years ago, designing for earthquakes?
It's mind-boggling to consider. Modern buildings use complex systems, shock absorbers, flexible foundations.
Right, active countermeasures sometimes.
Exactly. The idea that an ancient civilization might have grasped the core principle, even intuitively, and built it into this monument, it's just staggering.
It makes you wonder what else they knew, what other hidden features might exist in ancient structures.
It pushes us to look at these monuments not just as tombs or temples, but as potentially very advanced engineering projects.
Is there any other evidence, though, anything that supports this idea of them being such advanced engineers?
Well, the evidence is indirect, you could say. It's in the results. The sheer precision of the pyramid, its alignment, the incredibly tight joints, moving those massive stones, it all points to a mastery of practical engineering.
And the fact that it's still standing after 4,500 years.
Exactly. It has survived millennia of weathering and, yes, seismic events. That itself speaks volumes about its structural integrity. So, while we don't have their blueprints saying earthquake protection here, their achievements suggest a deep practical understanding.
Okay, so we have the real tomb theory and the ancient engineering theory. Both pretty grounded, if revolutionary, but the mystery is so big, it invites other ideas too, right?
Inevitably. When you have something this monumental, this hidden, this silent, it becomes a magnet for more unconventional speculation.
And it's important to at least touch on those because they're part of the conversation around this void, even if they're controversial.
Agreed. You can't ignore them entirely. The core idea behind many of these is that the void represents something. Well, beyond the capabilities or understanding of the known ancient Egyptians.
Like evidence of a lost civilization, Atlantis, maybe?
That's one line of thought. Or perhaps even evidence of extraterrestrial contact or influence from beings much older or more advanced than humanity at that time.
Okay, now we're really pushing the boundaries. What fuels these kinds of theories? What specific details about the void do they latch on to?
Well, a couple of things often come up. One is this idea of celestial alignment. You hear people asking, why does the void align almost perfectly with constellations like Orion?
Ah, the Orion correlation theory. We've heard that before about the pyramids themselves.
Exactly. The idea that the three main Giza pyramids mirror the stars in Orion's belt.
Yeah.
Proponents suggest this alignment was perfect around 10,500 BCE, way before the accepted construction date.
And Orion was super important in their mythology, linked
Wow.
to Osiris and the afterlife.
Incredibly important. The pharaoh's soul was thought to ascend to Orion. So if this new void also aligns with Orion or some other significant celestial body,
It adds fuel to the fire that the builders were working with cosmic knowledge, maybe not entirely human.
that's the interpretation some draw, yes. That the entire complex, including this hidden part, is locked into a celestial blueprint far older or more profound than just a pharaoh's tomb. It suggests a purpose beyond the purely earthly.
But couldn't that alignment just be down to very skilled ancient astronomers, part of their own sophisticated knowledge?
Absolutely, and that's the counter-argument from mainstream archaeology.
Right.
That the Egyptians were brilliant observers of the sky and aligning structures was well within their known capabilities. Critics also point out the flexibility in finding stellar correlations if you look hard enough.
Fair point. What else fuels the more out there theories?
The silence, that complete lack of inscriptions. We keep coming back to it because it's so anomalous.
Right, in a culture that labeled everything.
Why is this enormous chamber utterly blank? No dedication, no explanation, nothing. For some, this isn't just an absence of information, it's a deliberate withholding of it.
Suggesting the purpose was too secret, too strange, or maybe not even meant for us to understand easily.
Precisely. That the silence itself is the message, or that the contents or purpose are so far outside our conventional understanding that Egyptian hieroglyphs simply couldn't describe it. It invites explanations beyond the ordinary.
And why do you think these theories, the Atlantis or alien ones, have such a strong pull for some people?
I think it taps into a deep human desire for mystery, for wonder. A sense that maybe our past is much grander, stranger, and more connected to the cosmos than conventional history tells us.
The allure of the unknown.
Exactly. And monumental structures like the pyramids, which even today seem almost impossible feats, naturally attract these kinds of grander explanations. The void becomes a focal point for that sense of lost knowledge or forgotten history.
It really is fascinating how that silence can be interpreted in so many ways. Okay, so whether it's a tomb, an engineering feature, or something else, the potential secrets are huge. Which brings us back to that nagging question, why not just drill a hole? Why not send a camera in? Find out.
It seems like the obvious next step, doesn't it? It's incredibly complicated.
Why? What are the main hurdles?
Primarily, it comes down to immense caution and responsibility. The Egyptian authorities, the Ministry of Antiquities, they are extremely careful, and rightly so.
Because of the risk of damage?
Exactly. The risk of irreversible damage is the #1 concern. Any physical intervention, drilling, even a small probe, you risk cracking stones, destabilizing sections, changing the internal environment.
I guess when you're dealing with something 4,500 years old, made of millions of tons of stone.
The slightest misstep could be catastrophic. Imagine causing a collapse, however small. The weight involved is immense. It's a balanced system that has survived millennia. You don't just poke holes in it lightly.
It's a UNESCO World Heritage Site, too. The whole world is watching.
Precisely. The scientific community largely agrees. Let's use more non-invasive tech first. Refine the muon scans, maybe try other methods like ground-penetrating radar if feasible. Learn as much as possible before considering any physical breach.
So preservation is paramount.
Absolutely. But it's not just physical preservation. There's the symbolic and cultural weight.
So.
This isn't just an archaeological puzzle. It's, as the source material put it, a living symbol of Egypt's legacy. It's tied deeply to national identity, pride, history, even spirituality for many Egyptians.
So messing with it isn't just a scientific decision, it's a cultural one.
A huge cultural one. It's a global treasure, yes, but Egypt is its custodian. Any decision to intervene has massive implications and requires careful consideration beyond just the technical aspects. There are ethical debates too, the right to disturb a potentially sacred space versus the drive for knowledge.
Right, the whole let sleeping tombs lie idea versus scientific curiosity.
Kind of. What if opening it exposes delicate organic materials, if any exist, to air and decay? What if it disturbs something meant to remain sealed? It's a heavy responsibility,
So for now, it's a waiting game. The mystery endures. The secrets remain locked away.
which in a way only adds to the fascination, doesn't it? The anticipation builds.
It absolutely does. So,
Yeah.
okay, the void is real. It's huge. It's baffling. We can't just crack it open yet. The theories are wild. Let's step back and imagine for a second. What if?
Okay.
What if it really is a time capsule? Not just Khufu stuff, but something more fundamental.
Like what?
Like, what if it's a library containing knowledge we've lost? Maybe scientific principles they understood that we don't credit them with. Or histories of civilizations that came before them. Things that could totally rewrite our understanding of the past.
That's a tantalizing thought. A repository of lost wisdom.
Or, pushing it even further, what if it holds a device? Something not made by human hands as we know them. Something technological, but ancient, with a purpose we can't even guess.
That certainly veers into the speculative. But the sheer anomaly of the void allows those thoughts to surface.
It really does. It forces you to think outside the box. What if the answers to who we are, where we came from, maybe even where we're going, are literally locked inside that stone structure?
It's a profound idea.
Maybe the void wasn't meant for the dead pharaoh at all. Maybe it was meant for the future. For us.
Like a message. Or a test.
Yeah, maybe a message, maybe a warning, maybe just something left for a time when humanity was ready, technologically or maybe even spiritually, to understand it.
It positions the pyramid not just as a monument to the past, but as a potential key to the future.
Exactly. It remains one of the biggest, most compelling mysteries out there. A silent question mark from 4,500 years ago.
Absolutely.
So now the question really goes out to you, listening right now. What do you think is inside that hidden chamber? Is it the pharaoh's final, secret resting place?
A marvel of ancient engineering designed to protect the pyramid itself.
Or is it something more? A message from the past, maybe even from the stars, waiting for the right moment.
Whatever it is, its discovery reminds us that there's still so much we don't know.
So much wonder still hidden, challenging us, pushing us to keep exploring, keep questioning. Thanks so much for joining us on this deep dive into a truly enduring mystery.
Thank you. It's been fascinating to discuss.